calling to order the Middleton School Committee meeting. And as a reminder, this meeting is recorded. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all for coming. Matt, would you mind just handing over that public comment? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. So we have 6 people signed up for public comment. I do want to remind everyone that there is a budget hearing tonight on a hearing on the budget and on school's choice. So if your comment pertains to either of those, it might be worthwhile to hold your comment until that time, as we could have like more of a dialogue than just a comment, but it's totally up to you. So with that said, Mrs. Colby, did you want to leave your comment now?
Mine's is budget related.
Okay, it's totally up to you.
How much time is allotted for that?
Versus
3 minutes.
3 minutes? Yeah.
Same 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, and where's that on the agenda?
The public hearing on the budget is number 5 under new business.
I think I'll wait until the budget.
Okay. Laurel?
Sure, I'll speak now.
Okay.
It's fine.
And just state your name and your address, please.
Nervous. Hi, my name is Laurel Amiri, and I live in town. Just to give you a little background, my husband and I moved to Middleton almost 4 years ago. My husband grew up in Boxford and graduated from Masco, so naturally when we were looking for a place to live and put our roots down, the Tri-Town was at the top of our list. My daughter's name is Juniper. She's a kindergartner at Fuller Meadow this year. And when she was very young, just to give you some background, we realized that she would need some extra help going through life. She didn't have many words and she had a lot of trouble communicating. And when we put our daughter into the Middleton public school system, starting in preschool, we were met with love, support, care, attention, and very quickly created a very special, safe space for her. And quite honestly, for my husband and I as well. I wish I had more time because I would try and name every teacher who's had a hand in her success between then and now. But I can tell you this, every single one of those people has been essential to her success. I don't know where we would be without them. This is all to say that we recognize how important it is for the override to pass in May so that we can continue the support of our Middleton children, whether they are in need of extra support or not, but especially our children in need of individualized education plans. I want to encourage a campaign of some kind in order to get the word out to families in the town, as I feel people may not fully understand what's at stake for our kids or their education. It's what brought my family to this town, and I'm hoping that if people see yard signs or if there's more educational meetings about what things will look like if it should not pass, we'll have a better chance of parents seeing the value of their vote. The hope is that families will be able to see this meeting, but in reality, it's hard for some families to find the time and stay informed. And finally, in front of you, I understand that this doesn't pertain to the matter at hand, but I think it's worth a thought. What is your plan for our community and the students if federal funding gets pulled from our education system? And what is the specific plan to protect the essential funding for our special education students? I can speak for everyone. I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for the many families who are expressing concern about this issue right now. Thank you for your time. Sorry for the nervousness.
Thank you. Okay, Stacy Smith.
Mine does pertain to the budget, but I have to leave because I have a meeting, so I figure I'll read mine now. Stacy Smith, I live at 71 Mill Street. First off, I am grateful that you are looking out for the best interest of our school and our staff when it comes to keeping the budget at level service. However, I am extremely frustrated that tonight will be the first time that you will discuss the potential impact of the override failing in a public forum. A little about me. I am a mom of 3 girls, 2 of whom go to Hal Manning, and my third goes to Masco. My oldest learned to play the clarinet during COVID, and now plays the oboe. My middle daughter learned to play the flute starting in 4th grade, and my youngest is currently learning the recorder. Thank you, Mrs. Colby. She came home with it today. Over the last few years, I have had the pleasure of getting to know Mrs. Colby and the other music educators within the Tri-Town Union School District. I have watched the program grow since COVID into the thriving program that we currently have, with multiple concerts and opportunities for our children. And when I heard last week that the instrumental program might be cut if the override doesn't pass, I thought, did I miss that discussion? Well, I didn't. But I wanted to go back and give the benefit of the doubt, because I re-listened to every past school committee meeting thinking maybe I did. No, I did not. A public discussion never took place prior to this meeting that we are currently having. And there will never really be any real discourse or public input to the impact of the potential loss of this program. And it's going to be a very sad loss to the Middleton community, should that happen. At least some of you ran on a desire to improve transparency. This doesn't feel very transparent. I knew from attending many of the Masco meetings that there would be a need for substantial cuts, and I was grateful for a process at Masco that allowed for the public's input. And while the process is not easy, it is thankfully very much done in a thoughtful way that allows for community engagement, discourse, and acknowledgement. As a parent and as a taxpayer, that dialogue is appreciated, even if the outcome isn't what we want and isn't necessarily the way that we would handle it. So in the future, it would be beneficial for parents and taxpayers to know what is truly at stake should the budget and the override fail. It is beyond my understanding as to why this conversation did not happen prior to now. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you will reconsider how you handle this in the future.
Thank you. Okay. Emma Smith?
Speech printed out here. I am Emma Smith. I'm a 9th grader at Masco and a former Manning student. Although I do not currently attend the elementary schools, I have heard from my classmates, family, and concerned members of the community that instrumental music may be cut from the budget should the override not pass. As a band kid and musician, I feel this would negatively impact the students of Howe Manning. Music teaches kids the importance of teamwork, builds relationships, and gives kids skills to succeed in life. The instrumental program reaches a large quantity of students. These students interact with kids they don't typically see during the regular school day. The program allows Middleton kids to build connections and make friends to last for years to come. In addition, students learn to work with others. Music is all about teamwork. If not, the music sounds like a sloppy mess. When everyone bonds together, amazing music is created. Music is a powerful tool to be used as well. Here in Middleton, the elementary music program has grown to a large size and is participating in multiple events around town. The band plays at the Christmas tree lighting and the Memorial Day parade. They play with ensembles from outside the town, such as the Tri-Town Honors Band or Bandorama. They hold concerts for the public and have fun while doing so. It's a great learning experience and an enjoyable activity. That is why the current band program contains around 90 kids total in both beginning and advanced band. This is also not including all the 3rd graders currently learning recorder, as my mom mentioned. This program has grown so much since I was a student here during COVID, and do not understand why such a devastating cut is being considered in the best interest of our school. School is meant to teach and encourage students, but seems that may be changing based on the points that we presented tonight. I implore you to put your children's best interests first and to listen to your community. Please make sure the town understands the impact if this budget is not passed. Do what is right, not what is easy. Please continue to help students to grow instead of taking away the things they love.
Thank you. Okay, Sandy Robchinuk?
Thank you. Sandy Rupchinuk, 3 Circle Street. I wanted to share my concern that the instrumental music teacher position not be cut from the budget. My experience with my son, who attended Howe Manning many, many years ago, is still deep in my heart. There was only a regular education teacher filling in as a very part-time instrumental music teacher. Our Middleton students moved on to Masconomet at a very distinct disadvantage, requiring all of them to start over in beginning band. I do not want our students to enter the Tri-Town Middle School without an equal education in every area. Music can be one activity at Masconomet that truly helps a teen make friends and find a place they feel home in such a big school. Equal opportunities should be provided for all of our students, not only across the towns, but I worry about the socioeconomic spectrum. Not every family can afford private instrumental education for their child. Please prioritize music education for all students. As for the override, I wanted to clarify, as a senior citizen and lived in Middleton all my life, senior citizens do care strongly about public education. Most of us would, or many of at least, and I will be talking to a lot of them, would be supportive of the override. We get a bad rep with many thinking that we don't. We hear all the time, oh, we don't have kids in school anymore, they're not going to support the override. I don't believe that's true. I think they care. Okay, with $38 a quarter added to an average home worth $900,000, that's what I heard watching it on TV from the last meeting, okay? Most of us can afford to pay that, and there are tax help options for senior citizens that truly can't. I also feel that administrative positions should be first considered if cuts need to be made, not direct services to the children. I didn't hear a lot of that type of discussion from the last meeting. Our public schools are well known to be excellent. Please continue to make sure they stay that way. Thank you. And are you keeping letters for documentation?
I can, yes. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm reading this right. Is it Marissa DeSisto? Okay.
Okay, I'm going to shake like a leaf the whole time. But I'm reminded of Superman saying that bravery isn't just about being brave, it's about being scared and doing it anyways. Now, I do not do public speaking. Put me in front of a bunch of kids, sure, but a bunch of adults, I'm like terrified, so bear with me. I stand before you speaking as an educator in the Tri-Town and a parent Tri-Town student, and a parent of Tri-Town students. As an educator, I've worked in the Tri-Town for over a decade. First as an IA in the integrated preschool of Howe Manning, then a one-to-one IA, and then a behavior specialist. And after earning my master's degree, I'm now a special education teacher at Fuller Meadow. I teach in one of our sub-separate programs with some of our most fragile and complex students. Because they are sub-separate, they either spend part or most of their day in my classroom to receive specialized and individualized education. When you hear sub-separate, you may imagine that their interactions with peers and staff are limited to my classroom and to the staff that work with me. This could not be further from the truth. My fellow educators at Fuller Meadow are deeply committed to working as a united team to create an environment where inclusion thrives, ensuring that every student feels valued and seen. When my students walk through the hallways at Fuller Meadow, they are greeted with warm smiles and friendly waves from both students and staff. They are welcomed by name, whether it's an invitation to play at recess or to sit with friends at the cafeteria. At Fuller Meadow, my students are not just numbers. They are recognized as individuals. My students are not just a student ID. Now, as a mother, my two children are currently 4th and 6th graders at Howe Manning. Each of my kids are far from easy. They're actually really complicated. One on an IEP and the other on a 504. They need a lot of support socially, emotionally, and academically. I'm pretty sure the school psychologist has my name, my number. She knows my number by heart at this point, and the nurse probably has me on speed dial. My children, Tri-Town students, are at times, in a word, a lot. Given all their challenges and the support that they need from so many staff members, I have never, ever, not once, felt like my children were a burden. I have never felt, not once, that my children were not cared for by their teachers. You cannot put a price on that peace of mind. They are not counting down the days until summer when my children are out of their classroom. My children are not student ID numbers. Each and every student, your children, your neighbor's children, matter when they walk through the doors of Howe Manning and Fuller Meadow School. You can rest assured that when your child walks down the hallway, that not only do their teachers know their name, the entire hallway probably knows their name and their face. And that your child knows that they matter and that they are important, that they are an important part of our school community. My students are not just student ID numbers. Your children are not just numbers. My children are not just numbers. And if the override passes, we can keep it that way. Please vote with your hearts. Your kids, our kids, are all the ones depending on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you, everyone. We're moving on to approval of the previous minutes, and I'm not seeing any.
I don't think there's a set minute because we
Okay.
just had a meeting last week.
Right, okay.
And those were
So
approved.
those aren't ready yet.
Correct.
Any reports from other committees? Nothing, Jackie? Okay, thank you. All right, central office reports.
Great, just these are updates more than anything else. We know why we're here tonight, just to talk about budget and school choice, two of our public hearings that we have to have each time around this year. First one, just a reminder, budget annual town meeting is 5/13/25, so that is a Tuesday night. The Tri-Town, Boxford has it at the same night, so typically we end up splitting, so we can cover both town meetings. So Middleton is May 13th, and budget in Boxford is also the same. And then town election is the 20th, and so as some of the public comments alluded to, it's not just the budget that would have to pass at the town meeting, it would also have to pass at the ballot, right? So it's a two-part process, and I think, and I know that there's an override committee that will be getting up and running and having these conversations with the community and working out the details of that in the coming days. But I think a big part of that messaging has to be, it's not just town meeting, it's also at the ballot. I know the school committee knows that, but just more for the public.
And we do have early voting, so that will start before, I think, I don't know when the exact date is, but
Great.
we do have early voting.
And then just a housekeeping item for the committee, just our meeting, we had a meeting on the books originally for next Monday. I just was confirming that we were doing next Monday's meeting tonight and just making sure that that was still the case.
So this is our April meeting.
This, I believe that's where we landed last time. I just wanted to make sure that was still the case.
Yep.
And if we need to get together in April, we can, certainly. If we have other things that we need to navigate and talk about, we can pull a meeting together relatively quickly. And Steve, anything else from you, central office-wise, outside of the budget tonight?
No, sir.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure that all of us will be at town meeting, all 5 of us.
Yep.
Yes.
Great.
Very good. Okay. Moving on to report from the principals.
I'll go first this week. March was a pretty busy month. We had mini data days. March 12th, our curriculum coordinators and our interventionists met with classroom teachers to go over kind of midpoint data between benchmarks. March 13th was Family Math Night. That was a whole district thing. Kira Clemenzi put that back together again, and it did not snow for the first time in a long time. A lot of our 6th graders were there manning stations. DARE, Officer Sam Silla was in our 6th grade classrooms this month doing the DARE program. We had parent-teacher conferences couple Thursdays and Fridays ago, the 20th and 21st. Very well attended, and just commend our teachers. There were already parents checking in. I was getting the updates on my phone that they were checking into the building as early as I think like 7:15 in the morning, and there were some that were there much later than their regular time as well. So appreciate our teachers scheduling, being flexible with the scheduling so parents could make it in and have those meetings. I think that is just about it. Do you want me to hold on the check?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that and give some grants.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
okay, good question.
Then I'm good.
So I'm going to hold on my first because we do have something that's going to come up on the agenda.
Okay.
It's a donation, a gift. Just to update you on our kindergarten numbers as of today. Last Monday, I reported 49 students were registered. We're at 52. And I don't know if you remember, but I had said that there were 9 students who were on the census that we had not heard from. So the 3 that you just, that we kind of snagged over the last week were of that group of 9. So 3 of them kind of, maybe they didn't know, I don't know what happened, they came in, they've registered, and then the remaining folks, even after being called, have not responded. And there are 3 that said their children have very late birthdays, and they're really on the fence as to whether they're going to send them. So that's the most up-to-date information I have at this point. You know, we check it every week, and I'm happy to bring that back to you every time we have a meeting. And the last thing is April, I'm looking at this, 10th and 11th. We're trying something new this year. we're going to combine our concert, the music concert, with an art show. We haven't done this before, so we're going to see how it goes. We have a new art teacher who was really into collaborating with the music teacher, and it was sort of a nice way of thinking the visual arts and the music performing arts. So obviously our kids are little, so the concerts are short because they can only kind of handle so long. So I think some parents feel like, I drove all the way from wherever and it's like 20 minutes. So this is sort of a nice way of extending it and giving them the opportunity to go through the hallways here and see all the artwork that the kids have been doing. And they've been doing a wonderful job with our art teacher. So that's coming up on the 10th and the 11th. The parents have been notified about that. And I think that's it, other than the upcoming gift that we want to talk to you about. Unless you have any questions. Nope.
Any questions? The 3 that you mentioned who have late birthdays,
Yep.
Are those part of the 52 or part of the 6 remaining students?
They're part of the remaining students. Yeah, 52 have actually finished all their paperwork, gotten it in, so those kids are solid.
Okay.
The 3 that are on the fence have late birthdays, they're just not sure, and I guess they're gonna sit tight for a little bit. And then the others, we just haven't heard back from.
Okay. Okay, moving on to gifts and grants then.
Yep, so 2, so I think Jen and Jeff both, there was a Karate Academy local, so if you guys want to talk about that, what the gift was, and then we would seek approval from the committee to approve it.
Yeah, apparently the Middleton Karate Academy recently held a kickathon. Where they raised money for the schools. The owner and the teacher came over the other day, took some pictures, and delivered us a check for $219. So we would need a motion to accept that.
And to piggyback on that, we must have a lot of kickers at Fuller Meadow because we're netting $693.60. So a lot of Karate Kids hanging out over here. They have not come yet. We're scheduling,
Okay.
if it's approved, that they will come over. They wanted to hand off a check and have some photo opportunities with the kids that were involved in that. So
So it'd have to be 2 separate motions. Jeff, if you could say the amount for Howard.
$219.
I'll make a motion to approve for $19.
I'll second that motion.
Great, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, very good.
ours
you.
is $693.60.
I'll make the motion for $693.60.
And I'll second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay. Thank you. Is it still Mr. and Mrs. Van that own them?
Well, the fellow who emailed, his name was Josh Shapiro, but I
Oh,
don't,
okay.
I don't know.
Yep.
I'm assuming,
Josh, yeah, Josh. is
I'm
an
assuming he's
instructor,
the owner.
Yeah.
He's one of the
He's an
instructors there.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's an instructor.
So he's the
Yeah.
person who reached out to us. So.
Awesome,
And if
thank
both
you.
schools could just do a thank you card or something,
Yep.
follow up. That'd be great.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so moving on to Crest.
Yes, finally some Crest info. We've had this on the agenda for a few meetings, so in the drive, there's a a folder called Crest. Crest, as you know, is one of our educational collaboratives. The articles of agreement have been rewritten. It had to go through 2 readings at Crest, so the first PDF is the whole list of the Crest articles agreement, sort of their operating manual for all of the districts that they work with. The second one is the proposed changes. It's the 3rd PDF, if you could open that one, the one that reads Tri-Town. They didn't do one individually for each committee. I was just trying to save them a little bit of time because they have to do this for every district that's within their regional area. So on March 26, 2025, Crest Board of Directors approved the 2nd reading of the amendment to Crest's collaborative articles of agreement, which are similar to an organization's bylaws. Crest's articles of agreement were last amended in 2015. Crest is one of 24 collaboratives in Massachusetts providing special education services to students and districts. Tri-Town School Union is one of 16 Crest member districts whose board seat is held by a superintendent. And it's actually Topsfield, Middleton, and Boxford. When it says Tri-Town, it's each of the 3 individual committees. Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education requires collaborative boards of directors to hold 2 readings of any proposed amendments to the Articles of Agreement. Before presenting the proposed amendments or changes to the Crest Board, the Department of Ed communicated its preliminary consent to the proposed amendments. Crest Board of Directors met on March 12th and March 25th and respectively approved the proposed amendments for the 1st and 2nd, which was the final reading by the Crest Board. The final step is to finalize the amendments to Crest's Articles of Agreement is for each of Crest's member district school committees to vote on acceptance of the amendments which Crest Board has already approved. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education requires a majority of member school committees approve the proposed amendments. The primary purpose of amending the Articles of Agreement is to provide greater flexibility to the Crest Board in approving the annual budget. The most significant change to the articles involves the removal of a cap that non-member districts' tuition premium cannot be more than 20% above member districts' tuition. Additional changes bring Crest's Articles of Agreement in alignment with the Department of Ed's requirements and recommendations. I, meaning Bob Jokela, who's the Executive Director, am attaching the 2015 version of the Crest Articles Agreement along with a document showing specific language to be removed and its replacement. To have a majority of Crest member district school committees approve the amendment to the Articles of Agreement by April 30th on behalf of the Crest Board, I ask that you place the following language on an April school committee meeting agenda to vote for. And so we've talked about this for the past couple of meetings, that this was coming. I sit as your representative on that board. I can tell you that the Articles of Agreement that have been updated align with certainly what we would be wanting to accomplish as a school district, whether it be financially or supporting our kids who have diverse needs. And so down the bottom there is a recommended motion. If the will of the committee to make that, I would just say the Middleton School Committee, and in Berkshire will do the same thing, and in Topsfield will do the same thing. The Middleton School Committee hereby approves the amendments to Crest's Articles of Agreement as approved by Crest's Board of Directors on March 12th and March 26th, 2025. Happy to take any questions on that. Again, it's been on our agenda for a couple of meetings now. We knew this was coming, and all of the changes are there in the drive, all been reviewed and approved twice by the board.
Okay. I'll make that motion to accept the,
Could you read it exactly?
yes, I will. I'll move that the Middleton School Committee hereby approves the amendments to Crest's Articles of Agreement as approved by Crest's Board of Directors on March 12th and 26th, 2025.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yep. Legislation for remote meetings.
So that has been extended. There was a bill that was coming out of the House, and it was signed by the governor's office, and so we can now continue remote meetings through 2027, I think was the latest piece of information to come through. So just wanted to let the committee know that that is the case. Legislative authorization for remote participation in local meetings provided by Chapter 2, Section 40 was going to expire on March 31st of 25. Many local officials reached out, and they developed and presented to the governor an act to extend the open meeting law requirements, and that's been extended to, at a minimum, 2027. So if we ever have to have a Zoom meeting in the future, we can continue to do that. That's just
Okay.
more of an informational item than anything else.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, an update on the curriculum warrant article.
Yep, so Peggy is here. I've asked Peggy to be here tonight and at our other two towns as we go into public hearing mode. As we know, we're moving towards that Into Reading curricular program for our schools across the three towns. We had asked Peggy to work with the vendor and try to get updated pricing based upon the needs, and so Peggy's here to talk a little bit about what our original pricing was and then the updates that she was able to get from them. This is a number that we will communicate to the town. This is not an operating budget endeavor. This is something that comes out of the capital account at the town level. So from a capital perspective, this would be lumped in at town meeting with other capital requests from police, fire, the library department, electrical department, all the other different departments in town. And so the school's capital request this year is as it relates to the curriculum. And I think we have some good news to share in regard to that. So if it's okay with the chair to recognize Peggy.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. So good news.
Peggy's got to come up to the mic so the cameras
Sure,
can
sorry.
see. Please.
So good news on the curriculum. So when I originally presented to you in January, we were looking at version 2 of the curriculum. Since then, we found out that version 3, which has some enhancements we're really excited about, is coming out in September. So we reworked our prices, and we were also able to work with the publisher to get some discounting for the program. So our original estimate for you for the 6 years was $275,000. We were able to get that price down to $235,000. So it's a $40,000 savings over what we originally projected back in January.
Yeah, that's good news for sure. So we'll communicate that. I think the town administrator had reached out, I think, Michelle, to you and me and Steve, just coming out of the meeting tonight, just for any updates on pricing as they work to finish the warrant on all the articles for the warrant for town meeting and go to print. They'll just, in the capital section of the warrant, they'll list, as I said, all the different departments, and instead of saying 275, it'll say 235. So that's a nice job.
Yeah,
So thanks
awesome.
for that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Peggy.
Okay, now moving on to the public hearing for the proposed FY26 school budget. So I just need to entertain a motion to move into the public hearing for the proposed FY26 school budget. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, and is it a roll call?
Yeah, let's roll call it, just to
Okay.
be safe.
Jackie?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Natasha? Aye. Dave?
Aye.
Michelle? Aye.
Great, thank you all very much. So on the screen in the back there, Brian, thank you for driving. We have our slide deck for the public hearing presentation on the budget. Steve and I will divide the presentation up in terms of overall the slides and the information contained in the slides and so on and so forth. I think just as a review of sort of where we've been, I just want to compliment the committee. I think the way you have navigated to get to this point has been productive, and what I mean by that is for the past several meetings, you've been trying to get that override number down, and we've brought things to you and items to consider, and you have deliberated on those items to consider. And I just really liked how you put the public comment in every time at the end of those. You know, when we were doing those deliberations on, it wasn't a public hearing, it was just, I think, a nice way for the committee to have anyone in the public comment on any of the reductions that were being made in order to get that override number down. And so, just as a refresh and a review, the override number, and Steve will talk a lot more about this when we get into that, right now is $537,276. To get that number down, to try to get it down from a higher number, we had already reduced a classroom section. There were some instructional salaries through a levels audit. We had some retirement savings. We made some reductions to technology hardware. And then the school committee motioned in support of the FinCom using the Special Ed Stabilization Fund to help bring that number down as well. And so all of those, I think, were key features and key components of how we have navigated things thus far. So Brian, if you can go to the next slide or the first slide. We often like to start with what is our why and the work that we do. And you heard some of this in the public comment, and it's great to hear the energy behind those public comments tonight, because I think that's the kind of energy that will be needed for an override to pass. So our why is to nurture and realize a dynamic learning environment where creative thinkers and innovative problem solvers develop the empathy, resilience, perseverance, self-management, and kindness needed to positively impact the world. That's our vision statement. It has aged very well in terms of the work that we do. This committee has heard me say over and over again that the Department of Ed's vision statement now is actually aligned with the Tri-Towns, which is pretty cool, in terms of inclusionary practices and creative thinking and problem solving and developing innovation within our kids, and how do we do that. And so the how is the next slide, how we accomplish the why. And we've had our 3 pillars that have also aged well in the Tri-Town, which are our innovative teaching practices. We try to ignite, inspire, and engage our kids and our staff, and we try to cultivate creativity, problem solving, and innovation within our students and staff. A social emotional well-being, develop and strengthen student self-management, social awareness, self-efficacy, and growth mindset to be successful. And then inclusive practices, recognize, respect, and welcome the individuality of students and staff, and embrace new ideas and new thinking. And these 3 pillars have long been the pillars of the work that we have done here. I've said to this committee before, and I think it's worth repeating here, I think one of the core components of the Tri-Town schools is the longevity that we are able to have across all sectors of our organization. Every year when we do the kickoff meeting in the fall up at the Topsfield Fair, that's we've been doing it lately, the way I envision it is we get to stack blocks every single year, because 90 to 95% of our staff are the same as the staff before. People retire, and people might have a life circumstance that requires them to move or things like that. But I think really allowing us the opportunity to continue conversations that we start from one year to the next. I've worked in places over the course of my 3 decades where you don't always have that good fortune, where you have that degree of longevity with people, and you're not able to stack blocks, and you're not able to continue conversations. And when we sit here and talk about, and you've all heard me say this as well, a child born today graduates college, if they decide to go to a 4-year college or university in 2046, 47, what are those knowledge, skills, dispositions, and competencies we need to prepare those kids for? Those are the conversations that we get to have as a Tri-Town School Union District, which it's exciting to be able to have those conversations for sure. So Brian, if you can go to the next slide. So we have been thinking long-term about the budget. This is something that we know the budget is always going to be a challenge each and every year. And several years ago, we brought up the discussion around potentially looking at regionalization for the elementary schools. Between 2022 and 2024, a regionalization committee was formed and tasked with studying regionalization at the elementary schools in Topsfield, Boxford, and Middleton. If there was ever a desire for the school department at some point down the road to regionalize K-12, the elementary schools would have to regionalize first. That was sort of one of the main arguments of how we had that conversation, or debates when we had that conversation around regionalization. And that report is there. It's on our website as well. It's a very long report. And that report concluded, and the timing of that all concluded on April 24th. The next slide, Brian. The TTU Regional Planning Committee, we voted to end the regionalization study. It was primarily based on a lack of support and enthusiasm at the select board meetings across all three towns. The three towns really liked what they had with their elementary schools and wanted to keep things the way they are, and we respected that decision for sure. The 2-year study indicated that regionalization had real potential benefits for the education of the tri-town schools. However, by definition, a partnership requires all prospective members to be enthusiastic about the prospect of becoming partners in an educational enterprise, and this is all outlined in that report. But the real main driver behind it was, are there long-term cost savings that could potentially be gleaned from it? But again, we totally respect the decisions of each of the towns, that they like the way the model currently works. And so Middleton and leadership have been studying other budget efficiencies during the 24-25 school year. The 3 school committees commissioned a Tri-Town Superintendency Union Efficiency Study. And as you can see there, that study is designed to provide feedback to how we can optimize central office operations while addressing future succession planning and preserving institutional knowledge. The person that we're working with from E&S Development Group has done a complete literature review, focus group discussions with employees and staff, an analysis of the applications used by central office staff and town hall folks that we work with will be reviewed and rated for use in the efficiency of the Tri-Town Union's organizational structure. And we'll have a full report on this in June, but the study will benchmark against 3 selected superintendency unions in Massachusetts. So these superintendency unions that we're in, they're very rare. It's kind of a west of Worcester kind of a thing. There's only 2 really over on our side of the state. One down the Cape, and there's maybe one more on the South Shore, and then us. But the study will benchmark against 3 selected superintendents unions in Massachusetts, chosen for their size, structure, and use of financial applications in the business and HR offices. The methodology design will include a review of the processes such as HR, payroll, accounts payable, budget, and other services, using a combination of data analysis and qualitative feedback. And the report will include recommendations for system or application modifications, including a process and procedure manual, and include recommendations for school committee policy modifications or adaptions that will enhance the overall operations of the district. So we want them to look at everything for us and give us some feedback. Are we operating in the most efficient way that we can? In the Tri-Town Union structure that we're in, with 3 school committees, 3 select boards, 3 FinComs, 3 separate teacher unions and associations, 3 separate town halls, 3 separate town administrators, are we functioning as we navigate all of those different constituencies that are so important to our overall operation? Are we navigating that way in the best and most efficient way possible? And this report will help us to come to some of those conclusions. So at the TTU meeting in June, we'll have Mary Ellen Norman, who's the consultant that we're working with, come on down to the TTU meeting and present on all of that. So we're looking forward to that plan as well. So I just wanted to give a little bit of history around the work, and we appreciate our Middleton School Committee always looking for ways that we can be in a cost-saving mode and try to figure out, are we operating peak efficiency-wise from a staffing perspective, and we'll have more to come on that at the June meeting. So it's okay with the chair, I'll hand it over to Mr. Greenberg to talk a little bit more about our budget process.
Yes.
And some of the steps we've been engaged in thus far.
Please, yes.
Thank you, Dr. Morrison. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. So when we talk about the FY26 proposed budget, it is an operating budget that is our fiscal plan to support our educational programs, our initiatives that are approved by the school committee. The fiscal plan consists of personnel costs, supplies and materials, professional development, special education, support services, and facilities. Revenue to support our operating budget comes from the local appropriation, that's the majority of it, state and federal grants, and revolving accounts, or revolving funds, excuse me. So on the next slide, what we want to talk about for the committee and the public is, okay, where have we been? And when we look at FY25, we proposed a program enhancement budget for FY25 that invested in instructional intervention, specialist programming, classroom sections, and student support personnel. The override did not pass, so we were not able to invest in those enhancements, but we were able to maintain a level service operation for FY '25. So for FY '26, when we look at going forward, right now, we have an override of $537,276. And that override, again, is for level services. There are no enhancements in this. It is to maintain the level of service that we have right now. And with that, what has the committee already made adjustments to help close that gap with the proposed budget? One classroom section was reduced, instructional salaries were reduced, retirement savings, technology hardware was reduced, and then, of course, Finance Committee is recommending an additional $133,145 from the Special Education Stabilization Fund to help balance out the budget and address our peak needs associated with special education out-of-district costs. So the harder point of this discussion or this public hearing is if the override fails. And if the override fails, this would be the list that the committee would take action on. 3 classroom sections, 1.7 special education teachers, 1.0 reading teacher, instrumental music, assistant principal, 0.3 FTE, administrative salaries, instructional aids, and overall consumables.
And on that slide, just as context, and we talked about this a little bit at our last meeting, when we develop these lists as a leadership team to present to the school committee, we strongly believe in the communication aspect of how we function and how we operate. And so we're in a little bit of an unprecedented time right now, and that we are in an override mode in all 3 towns. So Topsfield needs an override to their budget, Boxford needs an override to their budget, and Middleton needs an override to their budget for level service. This is not enhancement or looking to grow the educational program for our kids and add to their program of studies. This is now a level service endeavor where instead of, as Steve said last year, the override didn't pass, that was for growth. So when it didn't pass, there was nothing to cut because there were positions that would have been filled if we were able to get that override. They were never filled, and we were never able to expand the educational program for our kids. This list this year across all 3 towns is a list that will impact our class size sections, our support services, administrative functions, and consumables and supplies and materials and so on and so forth. As we talked about last week, one of the key components when we do this across all 3 towns is we want to make sure we're communicating with everybody. So as a leadership team, we have the conversations and develop, an overall list for review. We then make sure that I have an opportunity to speak with our association co-presidents. So just take this and times it by 3, because this is the model that we have done across all 3 towns. We then ask our principals to reach out to anyone that may be impacted by this list. And then we ask our principals to conduct staff meetings as well, so the entire staff is aware. And so we never want anyone to come to a meeting from the staff perspective and be surprised by what's on the list. So that takes time to do that, and I know you guys can all appreciate that, and we appreciate that you give us the time to do that as well. And we've done the same thing in Topsfield, and we need to engage in the same endeavor in Boxford in the next couple of days and have those similar conversations with people as well. So I just wanted to add that context as well to this slide as we continue to navigate through this. So Steve, continue.
Thank you. So on the next slide for the committee and the audience and community, the budget that the committee will be voting on this evening will be a budget of $16,725,396. That is an increase of $1,412,834 over approved FY25 local appropriation, or 9.23%. The FY26 warrant article will have a base budget of $16,188,120 with an override amount of the $537,000, it should be $376 to give us the $16.725 million. So I'll correct that typo. And that's the additional 3.51%.
Okay.
So as we go to the next slide, you can see this is how every dollar is spent, all right? And we won't read it verbatim, everyone can read it. But really, about 69.25% of every dollar is spent on salaries, for the local appropriation, 13.29% on insurance, admin supplies, 5.7%, and transportation 4%, and you can go right down the line. On the next slide, we want to take a minute with this one. We want to talk about the revenue. So you can see how we get to our local appropriation for FY25. You can see that the local appropriation is the majority of it, over 94% in FY25, with other funds coming from revolving accounts and grants revolving accounts and grants. For FY26, this is important for the committee, that we've had to increase the amount of applied income from the revolving accounts to take care of the increase in the insurance premium. That in our original budget, we were anticipating a 10% increase on the insurance premium. That wound up being 17.62%. Okay, and this is the first year of possibly 3 years that we could be facing this kind of challenge. All right, this is not going away. And so with that, we have to cover that 7.62%. And so in order to manage that and also maintain an override that what the school committee was deliberating on, we have to go back into those revolving accounts and take more than what we would have usually planned to do. All right, so what does that mean for us for 25, 26, 27? That we're going to have to watch things really close, and that we want to make sure we smooth it out over a period of time, so that when you get to developing the 27 budget, the 28 budget, that you're not in a boom-bust situation where, oh, I don't have these applied income sources to steadily apply over a long period of time because we used it all up. So we don't want to be in that situation. So as we progress through 25, as we go into 26, we'll be communicating recommendations to the committee as to how to manage the revolving accounts going forward, to make sure that we put a goal to try to smooth it out for 27 and 28.
Steve?
Yes, sir.
So we have a 7.62% increase this year. You anticipate an increase again next year?
When I build FY27's budget, it's going to be 20%. No one said that to me like, this is it, but when we met with our consultant who takes care of all of the towns, and I walked away from that meeting, and when he said, that stuck with me, was expect 3 years of pain.
3 years.
So we'll start next year, instead of starting with 10, we're going to start with 20. Keep our fingers crossed.
Do you anticipate stabilization after 3 years, or just going to continue? We don't know.
Well, stabilization is for the special education.
I think it means
No,
Stabilize
of
the
the
increase.
insurance.
Insurance. You think it'll just go over 2 years?
This is what we discussed. So I don't want to say this is what I know.
Yeah.
This is what we discussed. And so the consultant from Maya, Cabot Risk, when we had these discussions, and he explained why, and we really don't want to get into it. It's fascinating, but we don't want to get into it. So it's something we have to plan for, and it's important that everybody knows it now. And I'd rather dial it back when we start the budget process, like, hey, it's breaking our way, and it's not going to be 20. It'll be 10 or 15. But for right now, based on what I'm hearing, we've got to plan accordingly. And so, yes, I'd like to say stabilize, but I don't know, Dave. Because there's so many variables that go into the insurance premium. It's not just one factor.
It's going to increase for the next 3 years, basically.
Right. And so we just need to prepare for it, and it's just one more strain on this budget. And so when we talk about growth of 4 to 6%, it always assumes that nothing changes. But when you have this happen, or some other variable that comes into play, it can have a dramatic effect on the budget.
Okay. And for next year, do we know yet what we're getting back in circuit breaker?
So when we built the budget for circuit breaker, it's anticipated on what we have, and Matt can correct me, Dr. LaCava can correct me if I misspeak, but when we build the budget, we try to anticipate what we will get for reimbursement and what that percentage will be. And did I miss anything with that, sir? So it is
that
built.
was built in. That anticipated circuit breaker number was built into the budget from the beginning.
Right. It is an applied income source. It is.
No, I see it here
Yeah.
for FY '26. I just wasn't sure if we knew what we were.
We got to see how 27 actually.
Okay.
Oh,
lands.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've talked about that.
26
We
lanes,
could
yeah.
see an increase in circuit breaker for FY '27.
Okay.
That will be anticipated, but again, we won't have that. I won't have a real dialed-in number until next fall. But
Okay.
I would anticipate an increase in circuit breaker for '27.
Okay.
Other questions before we continue on? So I just want to make sure that that the school committee is aware that we did have to use more of the revolving funds to balance out the budget as we bring this forward.
Can I ask you a question about
Yes, ma'am.
insurance? So, I hope this doesn't sound as dumb when I say it out loud. So, like, if my cell phone bill or my cable bill is going up with this company, then I can go back to Verizon and see if I can get a better deal.
Right.
Is that an option? with
So
insurance?
what it is, when you ask that question, that the town could be in a contract for a couple of years or 3 years with Maya, and that they could and probably would go out to bid when that contract is up. And so with that, though, they would also look at plan design, and plan design means, okay, we offer this type of plan now, all right? But maybe we'll offer this type of plan, which may be less of a premium increase. It won't be cheaper, those days are over. It will be less of a premium increase. So there's all those things that are in play that on the town side, and that representatives from each of the bargaining units are part of that process if they go through plan design. If they do, I believe if they do go out to bid for another vendor, then I think that they would be part of that too, but don't hold me to that part of it. All right, so yes, the answer is yes, when it's time to go out.
But we're in the middle of a contract. so
I
we
would
don't go
defer
anywhere
to the
right
town administrator where they are, but I believe so because I have not heard that we are going out to bid or we're looking at another
And to
vendor.
Steve's point, Jackie, it would be every unit across the town, so police, fire, teachers, they would all have a seat at the table around those discussions. Yeah.
Other questions?
I just want to go back to slide number 10, where it says, what if the override does not pass?
Yes.
And I just, want it to be noted that, this list, it's hard to look at. It is, being a parent and a community member and a school board member. But that combined with the comments that I've heard tonight is very motivating for myself to get this override passed. We have, I guess if you want to call it, an override task force that has kind of formulated, and our first meeting is tomorrow. Some of the people on that task force are sitting in this room, and we all want to work together to get this across the finish line and keep every one of these positions. Does anyone else want to say anything?
I just think the message is pretty simple. We have to talk to everyone that we know and just let people know in the community, parents, teachers, anybody we know in the community, to let them know that this is level service. People are going to lose their jobs. Our children are not get the same level of education. And I think it's really just really grassroots, just tell everybody you know, whether it's a friend or a neighbor, and just let them make them aware of it. Because I think most people aren't aware. They don't know what's going on in the community. So I think it's really important to get that message out.
And just to that point, David, it's a good point, Michelle and Dave. There is and one of the public comments alluded to this, there is a time frame to do that work, right? And done too early, by the time you get to town meeting, everyone's forgotten about it, because they're like there's so many things trying to get people's attention these days. Done too late, obvious as well. This is just historically that sort of sweet spot of April, right? And I think timing-wise, you guys are right on cue. Michelle and Dave and others leading that override team, for lack of a better way to say it. And I think the other piece that's a big part of this, I know the committee's aware of this, but the energy in the community that needs to be behind this as well, all of us supporting this, is, and folks who live in Middleton, correct me wrong, but I believe there's an elementary override, a Masco override, and a town override this year.
Well, it's a public safety,
A
so
public
the
safety override.
police and fire.
So there's a lot of competing demands, and so I think that's where the communication pieces and getting people to understand what all the different needs are going to be crucial.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think it's important that the talking point stays simple, and you take the most important things, not confuse people, but get whatever comes out of those meetings tomorrow in the next few weeks is get those talking points out there. Try to limit them and, be straightforward. I think the biggest one is we're going to go below level, and people don't want that. And for people that don't have kids in the schools, it's going to affect real estate. If these school systems are going below level, it's going to affect everybody. And it was good to hear someone talk about the seniors today, because I think that makes sense. They do get a bad rap, like, well, the kids aren't in school, they don't care. And I don't think that's true. So hopefully we can all reach out between the teachers, the PTO, the school committee, people that are coming to the meetings. It's good to see everyone here tonight and energized. Last year's was a little bit different. It would have been nice to have that extra money, but this year's a lot different, and sometimes people here are override and they don't, like Dave said, they're working, they're not involved in what's going on, and they show up at a meeting with the an agenda to just say no. And it's important to let them know beforehand that, it's just going to bring it below level.
And Joe, to that point, someone said to me the other day, and it was such a, to your point, like, what's that simple way to say it, right? And someone said to me, let's say the override fails, taxes don't go down. The taxes stay where they are, and all these things are gone.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You're below level in terms of how we have functioned as a school district, and that was just like a very poignant point to make. Of course, I knew that cognitively, but until you say it out loud, it's true. It's like, you could lose all these things, your taxes won't go down, they'll stay exactly where they are, but there's a loss there for sure, so.
Yeah.
I think it's just, too, there's town meeting, and it gets so crowded at Howe Manning, and it's so uncomfortable, and that can go on forever. But people have to show up there, and I think a lot of times, historically, I think we were just saying, like, people, a lot of times when you're talking about it there, it'll pass hypothetically, hopefully. But people have to show up to vote. Like, there's so many people that are, I don't know, passive is the right word, or they have to show up to vote, or it just doesn't pass, because the people who feel passionately about worrying about their taxes going up, they will show up. And it's not that I worry less about them, but the people who are in favor, they have to show up and vote, or it will not pass.
Right, and then in terms of town meeting, there has been some talk, I just learned about this a couple hours ago, about having some childcare at town meeting to get more parents to be able to show up. I understand that there's a couple of groups at Masco, student groups at Masco, that need some community service hours, so this would count towards those hours.
Brian, could you reach out to Laurie Rowan? Laurie was a longtime preschool teacher in Boxford, and she has across all three towns. She's helped us at town meetings. I don't know, Boxford's that night as well. I don't know if she might be in Boxford that night, but can you ping her for me this week, and just she would help us organize that? Thanks.
Okay. Anything else from the committee? I just want to open it up to the floor. Okay, so Mrs. Colby, come on up.
My name is Carolyn Colby, and I am the music specialist, band director, play producer, and chorus director at Howe Manning. To whom it may concern, I hope this letter finds you well. Thursday afternoon, March 27th, I was told that the instrumental program here at Howe Manning is slated to be cut if the upcoming request for an override to fund the schools fails to pass. I am ready to share some insights about the role of instrumental music in our elementary school program and the invaluable impact it has on our students' overall development. At its core, instrumental music education offers much more than just the opportunity to learn how to play an instrument. It fosters key values and skills that benefit children in ways that extend far beyond the music room. Cognitive development, learning an instrument improves brain function by enhancing memory, attention, and problem-solving abilities. Studies show that students who engage in music education often excel in other academic subjects, including mathematics and reading. Music helps students to develop discipline and perseverance, as mastering an instrument requires practice and focus, which translates into better academic performance. 2. Emotional expression and confidence. Playing an instrument allows children to express their emotions and creativity in a healthy and constructive way. As students progress in their musical skills, they develop self-confidence, which in turn boosts their willingness to take on new challenges, both in music and in other areas of life. Number 3, social skills and teamwork. Through ensemble playing, children learn to collaborate with their peers. Music teaches them how to listen to others, work as a team, and respect different perspectives. These skills are vital not only to the classroom, but also in daily life as students interact with classmates, teachers, and the community. Number 4, physical coordination and motor skills. Learning an instrument also improves fine motor skills, hand-eye coordination, and physical dexterity. Whether it's pressing keys on a piano or using a bow on a violin, students develop physical skills that support their overall growth and development. Number 5, cultural awareness and appreciation. In addition to technical skills, music education exposes children to various cultures, genres, and traditions. This broadens their understanding of the world and encourages an appreciation for the diverse artistic expressions that shape our society. Number 6, lifelong enjoyment. Perhaps the most importantly, learning an instrument nurtures a lifelong love of music. It offers children an outlet for relaxation, enjoyment, and personal growth that can continue into adulthood, providing them with a fulfilling and enjoyable activity throughout their lives. Currently, we are fortunate to offer instrument music as part of our elementary school curriculum, and we are committed to creating a positive, enriching experience for all of our students. Your support at this critical time is needed. The instrumental music program at Hal Manning's mission to encourage your child's musical growth is invaluable. Together, we can continue to offer a program that helps students realize the many benefits that music education has to offer.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak during the hearing? Okay. Just state your name and
Annie Amelia, I'm a parent at Fuller Meadow,
Thank
7 Bishop Lane. First, just a procedural question for you guys. I'm newer to Middleton, so the override has to pass on a simple majority at the town meeting, correct? Simple majority?
And the ballot.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then a simple majority
at the ballot.
at the ballot? Okay. That was my first question, just understanding that. And then the second, I'd encourage you guys, you have a captive audience here too. I don't know if people want to sign up or something, because I think we're all, many of us at least, I don't want to assume, are very supportive, so just use us as you can. That was it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay.
So Steve, next step slide.
Yes, sir. All right, so next steps, school committee will want to put forward a motion to approve the FY26 budget at $16,725,396, which includes asking the select board to place a warrant on the town meeting, an override on the town meeting warrant for $537,376. I'll correct that. On Tuesday, May 13th, will be the town meeting at Hal Manning, and that the override will need to pass by a simple majority. Should the override pass at town meeting, the override will be placed on the town municipal election ballot and will need to pass by a simple majority, and the election is on May 20th. The override would require a majority vote at both town meeting and the ballot, as we just said. And Middleton Budget Information Tour sessions will be held on 4/14 and 4/28.
And Steve, just, I know it's $100, but I just want to make sure, it's 537,276 on the slide. Where were you getting the 537,376?
It is on my adjustment sheet. It is 2.7. You know, I'm sorry, guys.
I thought it was.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I am a senior citizen. I'm sorry. I'm having issues. So
Just
thank you,
want to make
Scott.
sure we communicate the right number to the
No,
town.
my apologies to everybody. It is 276.
Okay.
Yep, got it.
Okay.
And so, Madam Chair, we will, if the school committee, unless you have more questions?
Any
would like
further
to-
discussion?
I have a quick question. So, as far as music being brought up as a possibility of being cut, what were the alternatives to that?
Yeah, we looked at a number of different things, Joe. We're trying to always protect every single part of our budget. And as you can see from the override list, this is impactful in a number of different ways in terms of special ed services, administrative services, classroom sections, special ed teachers. There's only so many places to go. I don't have the exact list in front of me at the moment to give you an exact answer to that question about what other things may have been on the list, but I can tell you that the list was strongly vetted at the school level and at the district level as well.
Can I ask a follow-up question on that?
So with the .3 specifically for instrumental music, would that eliminate the program altogether, or would it just shrink the program?
Yeah, it would be all together. Jeff, if you want to speak to that a little bit further.
Yeah, so currently music is separated. There's the in-class is a specialist, so that's .7, like the other specialists are as well. And then the instrumental music lessons that take place are the .3.
Okay.
What's the overall cost for the music program?
For the salary, Joe?
Yeah.
So we would look at.
The whole cost, what's the budget, the number that comes out of the budget if it doesn't pass?
Yep, Steve probably has that.
Yeah, it's the, hold on one second, Joe. It is $21,000. That's what's applied from the revolving account to fund the portion of the salary.
It doesn't, seems like a roughly small amount of money for a pretty valuable program, 21,000. Are there any alternatives if this did happen, to bring music back any other way, any type of fundraising activity, or has there been any discussions about that?
I think the key piece would be the override passing, obviously, like that's a key component would be to
Right.
have the override pass.
Right.
If it's the will of the committee to send the team back and work this list a little bit more, we would take that direction for sure. I can tell you that once you start moving things on the list, historically, and this isn't Middleton, I'm just going to talk about school districts going for an override, right? Once you start to move things on or off a list, what then happens is folks will express a concern for something else on that list. And then there's a question that gets raised about, oh, can we take that off the list and can we add this instead? So I think that's always the challenge with developing any of these lists, is that there's going to be stuff on the list that absolutely, I mean, we're not thrilled about any of these things being on the list, as I know the committee isn't either, right? Like, we don't want to see any of these things on the list. We
Right.
want to see the override pass. But I think part of the challenge historically with overrides, not talking about just Middleton, but just in my years of experience, as you start to say, maybe not this, then this, then this perspective is developed, and then people ask, well, why this as opposed to this? So it can become a little bit of a never-ending story, so to speak, when the focus really needs to be on, for any committee or any community looking to pass the override, how do we get this thing passed? Because everything on here is valuable.
And is this list that we're voting on tonight, is that in stone? So is that what's being presented, or do we have an opportunity to come back and look at it?
It's what's being presented. It's not in stone in the sense of like, we're not motioning these things tonight. We're sharing with you guys what a list would look like in terms of if the override doesn't pass. It is something that the committee will want to kind of think about rather quickly, because this has to go out and be sold now to the community, right?
Yeah.
And so if we say, let's have a meeting in another week and come back and do something to the list, that's going to delay, like, I know there's an override meeting team happening tomorrow. They want to start to game plan and develop what's the game plan for this and get out there and do their thing. So this is not, you're not voting the override list tonight. What you're voting is the budget and what the override amount is, but inclusive in that, no list is a good list.
So my question to that is, music seems to be the hot subject. If this was not to pass, at what point do we make a decision on what gets cut and put that in stone?
Yeah, that's another good question. And my answer to that would be, you never want to lose trust with the community, right? And so if we sit here and we say to the community and the override team and everybody who's going to be working on the override between now and April, I forget what date I said, 13th, I think? Yeah, April 13th, at the town meeting.
May 13th.
May 13th.
Excuse me, May 13th, thank you. If we say this is the list for May 13th, and then let's just say the override doesn't pass, and all of a sudden we say, well, we're going to do a separate list, right? We lose all sort of trust with the community for sure, because this is what has been kind of dialed in and focused on. So we wouldn't want to change, we wouldn't want to get to that point in May where if the override didn't pass, there's now a new list.
I get that, but my concern is, it seems to be a lot of feelings on that, and if those feelings grow even more, at what point do we have an opportunity to relook at that and say, well, maybe music should stay?
Yeah.
What else could we look at? I know what you're saying, but
Yeah, and strong feelings are good for an override.
Yeah, and I will say,
Yeah.
if we decided to keep instrumental music, then we have to find another 20-some-odd $1,000, and I think we have to pretty much find that right now, would you say, or?
It would be,
You got it, yeah,
And then
can I
we-
just say, Scott?
Of course.
We've also, not, this is the be-all, end-all, but we're also pressed that we have to get that information to town hall.
Right.
Because that's going on the warrant.
Right.
And
And
that,
that-
they need that by tomorrow morning, I
Yeah.
think,
Right.
so.
And
not that
there's
that's-
no time. I don't want any staff member to find out at a meeting like this that their job could potentially be in jeopardy.
and when do we vote on that list? At what point?
there's no usually a formal motion per se. I think in accepting the budget, we're looking at this list. If there was a change to it, like I said, it would be something that the committee would have to decide as a whole. We are the three-town fund, as we've talked about. We're a little bit up against it in terms of timeframes and timelines and deadlines, Joe. I know none of that feels great, but we are a little bit up against it in terms of, the reason we had to do this public hearing this week. Normally, we would have done, and I had this conversation with a school committee member in another town today. We've been in a very condensed schedule. Our normal public hearing schedule across all three towns would have been April 3rd for Topsfield this Thursday, April 7th for Middleton next Monday, and April 10th next Thursday for Boxford. Because of the way the warrants were written and the feedback we were getting from the town across all three towns that they needed to get all this information sooner, we had our public hearing on March 20th in Topsfield. We're having it on March 31st tonight in Middleton. And we've got it on April 2nd for Boxford. So we are in this sort of condensed mode right now across all three towns.
And like I said before, it's not fun to look at. My heart goes out to everyone, but it is very motivating to do whatever I can to get it passed.
I just think it's also, like, to your point, you have to let people know ahead of time if we've already made these decisions and it's been done properly. I think it's kind of tough. I don't like to see the music program. I don't like to see anything cut, but
Well, what happens, it's
Make a
then
decision.
that balance of, well, the reading teacher's on there, should the classroom teacher's on there, should the classroom teacher come off? And it gets into that circumstance of being, not wanting to have anything on the list, which is what we all want, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the balance for sure.
Okay.
Are there any other questions, feedback, comments?
Okay, so I will motion, what is it? It's this language right here.
Yep.
Yep, I will motion to approve the FY26 local appropriation of, is it? $16,725,396.
That's the
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? No? I'll do a roll call vote. So Jackie?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Natasha?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Michelle? Aye. Okay, and then is there a second motion for the override? Or
Probably
did that
wouldn't
Yeah, it doesn't
include-
hurt to have it
Okay.
memorialized.
So I will motion to,
You can even say ask the select board to
or
place
ask
an
the,
override.
ask the select board to place an override article on the annual town meeting warrant for the amount of $537,276.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Jackie?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Natasha?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Michelle? Aye. Okay, so now we get to work.
Yes.
I just need to, I'll make a motion to exit public hearing.
I'll second that.
Second, okay, Jackie?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Natasha?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Michelle? Aye. Okay. Getting back to.
School choice.
Yes, so we have a second public hearing tonight on school choice. So, I will make a motion to enter into a public hearing on school choice for the 2025-26 school year. Anybody want to make a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Jackie?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Natasha?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Michelle? Aye.
All right, so in the drive, there's a policy titled JFBB School Choice. And the way this policy reads is that it is the policy of the school district not to admit non-resident students under the terms and conditions of the inter-district school choice law. The decision must be reaffirmed annually prior to June 1st by a vote of the school committee following a public hearing. In the event the school committee votes to participate, there's a whole host of local conditions that would apply. And so we need to have a quick discussion, or not a quick discussion, either way, around does the school committee want to participate in school choice? We have to communicate this to the Department of Education. What school choice means is that a school committee in a given town would open up seats in certain grade levels to students who do not live in Middleton. And those students would then be in the schools until they graduate from the Tri-Town School Union. If they decide to go to Masco, it would be a separate endeavor there in order for, if that family wanted to participate in school choice at Masco. Historically, just for context, none of the three committees have participated in school choice in the 9 years I've been here. Steve's been here longer. I think it's been historic. I think one of the drivers behind that is the funding that comes into a town is $5,000 per student. So if you accept a student from another district, it's not a per pupil expenditure, right? It's a $5,000 expenditure that would come into the budget for the school department. So that's sort of the long and short of it. I know those who have been on that committee a while are familiar with this discussion, but happy to answer any questions as it relates to school choice.
Okay, so I'm just going to repeat what you just
Yep.
said. It will cost us $5,000 per student if we.
No,
We
can't.
receive
We
5,000.
receive, no, but, okay. We receive 5,000, but in previous years, it has cost more than that to educate a child
It's
than
like
what we get.
18,000
Yeah.
18,
per child.
More than triple. Yeah.
More than triple, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, given the budget situation that we're in, I would recommend not to participate in school choice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is that a motion?
I mean, does everyone agree?
Are we still discussing?
Any feedback? It's a hearing, so if anybody wanted to say anything.
Support your motion.
Okay.
Don't you get to decide who you would let in that case?
No.
No.
You don't?
There would be, if the school committee decided to open up 20 seats in third grade, right? There would then be applicants, I think, from a lot of different places, personally. And then it would have to be either the school committee, there's a whole list of things that I'm not going to read. I'll share the policy with you. But they would have to potentially do a random drawing. It could be first come, first serve. So there's, on this policy that I didn't read fully out loud because I wanted to hear what the committee had to say, there's 5 things that get triggered if you say yes. And the triggering is like, here's all the stuff you have to do if you say yes. So there's a way to do it. But if the school committee is saying they don't want to do it, I mean, I'm happy to read all 5 things out loud,
I
but I
don't
think
think you
it's.
need to.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing no. So I will make a motion not to participate in the inter-district school choice program for the 2025-2026 school year.
I'll second that.
Jackie?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Natasha?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Michelle? Aye. Okay, so that's settled. We'll exit the hearing for school choice. So I'll make a motion to exit out of public hearing on school choice for 2025-26. Jackie?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Natasha?
Aye.
Michelle? Aye. Sorry, I went out of order. Okay.
No correspondence, no other.
Bills and payroll. Did everyone have a chance to take a look?
It's in the drive as well.
Yep. Okay. Just so you know, there's one of them in there that has former school committee members' typed
Yeah,
names
just-
on it, so just cross it out and write your name.
Yeah, my apologies for that, just wrong cover sheet. All right, so
Okay.
fix that.
So I will make a motion to accept the bills and payroll as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay. We just have executive session left, so thank you all for coming. It means a lot. It's, like I said before, it's definitely motivating, and you'll probably see a lot of me in the next month.
Thank you.
So we need to motion to
Thank
exit,
you.
only to return,
Yes.
motions and then to read, and then only to return to regular session for
Yes.
adjournment.
Okay, so I will make a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 22A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body and the chair so declares. We will return to regular session for adjournment.
I'll second
that. Okay. Jackie? Aye. Dave?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Natasha?
Aye.
Michelle? Aye. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.